Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the BZA meeting today for October 21st. It's 5:30 and we'll get started. Just to go over the agenda, we'll start with a silent prayer, pledge of allegiance. We'll have Mr. Whitney swear in everybody before we go into the public hearing. And then we'll go into BZA discussion.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A roll call.
Mr. Shrewsbury.
Here.
Mr. Palma.
Here.
Mr. Grinnell. Absent. Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Whitman.
Here.
Mr. Ryba. Absent. 4 present. We have quorum.
Good evening. As Mr. Shrewsbury, the chairperson, indicated, my name is Vic Whitney and I'm legal counsel to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The first item on the agenda is the variance application of Dale and Carol Wampler. So in a moment, I'll have the stenographer will ask you to stand if anyone feels they want to give testimony or offer any discussion or opinion as to the application. We'll ask those people that may want to do that to stand, and we'll have you sworn in. Then when the public hearing begins, Mr. Shrewsbury will call persons at his direction to the lectern if you want to offer testimony and speak tonight. We ask that when he calls you, you walk up to the lectern. Please state your name and your address, if you would, into the microphone, and then you would be able to offer whatever you want. As I've indicated, and as you can see, we have a stenographer here. She is taking down everything. It is a public hearing. So make sure if you are speaking tonight that you speak loudly and clearly. And if any of the board members ask you a question, let them state the whole question out before you start responding, because she can only type down what one person's saying at any given time. So with that said, anyone that believes they will speak tonight on this application, if you would stand now. If you choose not to ultimately come up and testify, that's fine. You don't have to, but in order to testify, you're gonna need to stand right now and raise your right hand, and the stenographer will swear you in.
We swear or affirm that the testimony you'll present will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do. You guys can sit, and with that, Mr. Shrewsbury, I'd like to admit the exhibits for tonight. I've got 3 exhibits. The first one is marked as Exhibit A. It is a 4-page document that includes the variance application, the narrative statement, the legal description, plan that was submitted by the applicant. Exhibit B is the public notice and the mailing and proof of mailing that went out to the affected property owners. And Exhibit C is a 5-page document that is the staff report that was prepared and submitted to the Board of Appeals. So with that, I move to admit the exhibits and turn it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll get started with the applicant. If you'd like to come up to the podium and explain your variance request.
Actually, Kurt, I'm going to start with the staff report first to kind of go over what variance we're requesting here. So the applicant, Dale and Carol Wampler, are requesting 4 different variances for this property in the hopes of the end goal having a lot split done on the property as well, and then having a second dwelling added to that second lot. So these will all tie into that, and all the approvals, if there is an approval tonight, would be contingent on the lot split, which would go to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. So the 4 different variances that are being requested is a reduction in lot area, a reduction in building setback from the road, a reduction in rear lot requirement, and then a reduction in the required square footage as well. And with that, I will get over to Dylan.
Please go ahead.
Hello, my name's Dale Wampler. I reside at 214 South Galena Road. This is my wife of 42 years, Carol Wampler. And we're here requesting this proposal. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, if I could. We currently live at 214 South Galena Road, Sunbury, Ohio, where we raised 3 children. Both Kara and I, my parents, my children, and so far 1 grandchild have all graduated from Big Walnut Schools. Kara retired from Big Walnut Schools, where my son and my daughter-in-law are currently teachers. To my point, we are deeply rooted in this community. We have spent our lives here and would like to retire here, which brings us to this variance. I don't know if you all have a copy of this. Has some pictures in there. The variance request at 376 East Cherry. This lot gives us the opportunity to downsize to a more manageable and more maintenance-free home as we go closer to our retirement age. We have studied the area and have added pictures of homes that would fit in the area. Also, an overhead view of the layout and surrounding homes. The rear yard setback on this plan should be looked at as more of a side yard setback, as we would use most of the yard would be to the east and to the north, or the side and front, as this house would face Walnut Street. We also recognize the ponding and minor drainage issues caused by the 3 buildings on the west of this property, and the shared driveway to the north that acts as a dike or dam, shedding water and causing minor drainage issues. So for this reason, we've added a drainage plan to mitigate any of these issues. That plan will feed into the catch basin at the northeast corner of our property. We have not found a house in this area of Sunbury that would be in compliance with section S81.15.04 low density residential district codes that would not need a variance of some kind to be built with today's standards. I don't know if you have pictures of the homes we've looked at. I don't know if you have this. So we feel like with these, any one of these homes would fit nicely in the neighborhood and would not cause any kind of burden or hardship on any properties around it. So with the land improvements and the nice home, we think it would actually enhance the neighborhood. So these are the reasons we are requesting this variance, so we can plan our future in the town and community we have spent our lives in. Thank you for your time and consideration of our plans for our future in Sunbury, the town we grew up in and want to stay in. I hope you've all had a opportunity to drive up and down Cherry Street and Walnut Street and look at the homes, and hopefully you've seen this lot, and it obviously looks like a buildable lot. It just doesn't match the standards of today's codes. Again, I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, shoot.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Do we know the owner of the house in which the lot split would occur? Does that matter?
So the applicant is the homeowner, is the owner of the property.
Of the whole property?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
The property itself would be, after split, would be 106 feet long and 87 feet 8 inches wide. That's after the split.
I thought that was the case, just wanted to double check.
It's roughly 9,300 and some odd square feet, the lot. The houses we've chose, the biggest one takes up approximately 23% of the lot, which is in code. We just, we'd love to retire here and build a nice little home that's more maintenance free and easier for us to take care of. Maybe my wife manage someday if I'm not around, and that's our plans.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I believe you listed there's some examples out there of other lots of a similar nature. So I believe you mentioned that there are other lots nearby of a similar nature to what you're asking for.
Yeah,
So if I can understand a little bit more to that, more specifically to each of the variances you're asking for. So what lots are 9,000 square feet today in Sunbury?
just about everyone in the Sunbury Gardens are less square footage than this, which is right around the corner.
I can add as well on that, more looking specifically at the gardens, in my staff report towards the end of the comment showing comparable sites. All of the ones in the gardens were less than 75 feet. They all hit 3 of the 4. The only one that they typically had more of was the rear yard setback. So that's the primary example of what I use. They have that same R3 zoning, and most of the same variance requests would happen to them if those houses were built today.
Yeah, so the 75 feet setback is, you very rarely see that up Cherry Street or Walnut Street or anywhere in the old part of town, honestly.
What about the 1,100 square foot home? Is that consistent as well?
That's also consistent with the gardens. The only request that wasn't consistent in the gardens would be the rear yard setback. And I think I brought up most of the ones. There's one example of about 15 feet for a rear yard setback, which I believe is the request. And then most of them are about 25, a little more than 25 feet away. That'd be the only major differing from the variance requests.
I would like to say this is the only way to set a house in there unless we turned it towards Cherry Street. And then within that side yard, which I would call this a side yard, except the house faces Walnut Street. So that would basically be used as a side yard. If you look at it like that. So like I say, we'd turn the house the other way and it'd be 8 feet off the property line. But, so we don't plan on, using that back. It's not very, friendly to look at, for one thing. But it's just the way the house sits in there best and would fit best in the neighborhood, honestly. If I turned something towards Cherry Street and built a great big house, it would set in the same place as this proposal. So we just think this is the best fit, nice looking home. Would fit right in, enhance the properties around it. We got a drainage plan for the lots to the west that seem to hold a little water. So that's our plan.
What is the front setback on the house that is already on the lot?
Setback on the house.
On the current house, yes.
It's 32 feet off of Walnut Street. The front is a little further. I'm not real sure of the distance.
Using in the staff report, and I'm just eyeballing this one, from the center line goes about midway through the house is 75 feet away. So from the front door, I'd probably say 50-ish feet from the center line of the road.
But it's important to note that that one is off of Cherry Street. He's talking about orienting the house off of Walnut. Okay.
I think if you drive down Walnut Street, you'll see garages and buildings much less than 40 feet from center line. There's garages that you can't pull 2 cars in bumper to bumper without being on the street. I just think this is a good fit for that area. And it would be our retirement home. That's the plan. Been here all our lives. Would love to stay here.
For the house in the front, when the lot is split, what is its rear setback?
The rear setback on that one would be, so if we're saying the front of that is 50 feet, it's 22 feet, I think, wide. There's 72 feet in the back. So the lot would be 106 feet. So it's 50 plus, there's 72 feet. The remaining of the 106 feet would be the rear lot of the house on the corner. So 106 minus 72.
It's. Did we verify what the setback is on the back of the house? On the current structure, if we do the lot split?
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know that we have the calculation.
I do.
So we could certainly confirm that. But I mean, based upon the applicant's math, again, that puts it at, I think, 34 feet.
With the existing home at 376. Since you live at 214 Galena Road,
Yes.
is that an option to use 376? Or even replace that home with your proposed home?
It's not an option for us at this point. It's possible in the future, but I don't plan on doing that. I could easily build onto that house and or tear it down, but that's not our plan. That's not what we would do at this point.
Any other questions? Okay. So thank you for presenting your application. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to provide some comment? If you do, please come up to the podium. Yeah, please.
I'm new to all of you. I don't know anything. But hang in there with me.
You can state your name and your
My
address.
name is Don Cox and I live in the adjoining property 362 East Cherry Street. I would like to go back in history a little bit here. When we first moved up here in 1976, I have a map here of the lots around that area. I bought the Walter Ross farm. The house was built in the 1800s. And we've lived there 48 years. It's been our only home. And I love it. It's got a lot of character and all that, but I got the drawing here from 1976 provided to me by Century 21 Realtors. So I knew the size of my lot that we were talking about. Behind me was all open field, through to the railroad tracks. Okay. That was part of the farm that I bought, the house. Next to me was also part of that farm, which in total was about 50 acres. So I bought parcel number 2, I think it says here, which mine is roughly 89 by 213. Okay. Now, my problem with all this is straight out, and I don't know if everybody sees it the way I see it. I've looked at adjoining lots around there and they're big. We had a builder, Cliff Hill, and Ted Foreman, who was God rest his soul, originally wanted to take that vacant land, divide it in 7 parcels. Each one would have a twin single or 2 families on each one of them, which meant 14 families on that. Harold Kittner, who was mayor at the time, said, we all opposed it. What he agreed to was keep nice sized lots like the rest of it down the street. And instead of doing singles, you can put 7 families, not 14 families. Okay, 14 families, too many. And the lots would be too small. Now, when I look at this lot, it gives no setback from my line at all. It gives no setback from the service road behind there that currently has all these houses on it today, and they're very nice homes, and they all have large lots. This is not a good fit here. It's not a good fit. Square foot wise, it's not. And anyone could see that in the surrounding neighborhood there. I'm not thinking about the gardens, and I'm thinking what's out my back window, out my front window, my side windows, because that's my neighborhood. Okay, so I have a real honest to goodness problem with this. And I don't know if my say has any weight or not, but it didn't take me long to see that it wasn't a good fit. And Sunbury back in the day in 1976 said, show me where there's anything else like this in your neighborhood. When I was wanting to build my workshop in the back, which they did give me a permit, and I put it up. It's a nice workshop. It's got a den for me to get away from the wife. But the house and the land really has a lot of character. But they gave me a little rough time when I was building that shop back there. Say, do you see anything else in this neighborhood that looks like this? And I had to admit that I didn't, but it was under construction. And the building zoning guy at the time said, it reminds me of a tobacco barn in Virginia, where I'm from. And so they had the mayor come out at that time, the lady mayor, Jane Curtin or something like that, came out and approved it and said, yeah, it's all right, because by then I put the windows, the door, and all. Anybody can come and look at my place anytime they want. Okay, and see what you think. But you're not going to find on Cherry Street anyone else that's got a lot size like this. What's proposed? And if you want my opinion, no. That's the way I feel about it. But we're always going to stay there, so I just wanted to have my say. Okay, and if you have any questions or anything, but I have trouble when there's no setback there from my line. There's all the setback from the road from Walnut, but there again on range of Walnut Street, it's only 16. Or no, it's about 16 foot wide. The front street, which is a normal size, is almost 24. Now, my understanding is one day they're going to want to open up Walnut Street down through there. I don't know if it's in the makings now or not, but I've heard through grapevine that it is. That's going to generate a lot of traffic. It's going to be tight. And if you park one car this way and one in behind it, a car is roughly about 60 miles, 60 miles. Even if you park in the back to back. And if you're back 32 feet from the edge of the road because you lost 8 of that 40 feet, 8 foot you lost because of the center of the street. So the wall building, it must be 32 feet from the edge of the road of wall. That doesn't give you much room to pull in there. It's tight. And the 15-foot wide grass, I guess you could mow your grass in 10, 15 minutes. Everybody around there's used to big lots. Beautiful lots. This is not a good thing. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you for your input. Is there anybody else that would like to provide some comment?
My name's Clyde Harmon. And I live at 37 Walnut Street. Actually, adjoining property on the side. The original house is in the corner of Sheridan and Walnut, and ours is on Walnut. We live in the shared driveway that has three houses that go back to it, which in my opinion was a mistake in the first place. It should have been designated a street and turned over to the city. But they didn't back in the seventies. My concern is drainage. We are not hooked into the sanitary sewer. We had sump pumps, and back in the eighties when we bought our house, they made us all take our sump pumps that were going into the sewer line, and now they drain out on the front of our house out to our yard. Which isn't a problem unless you get a lot of rain, and then it causes problems. And they address that concern that, you know, drainage is a problem. And if they have a plan to put drainage, catch basins and stuff, that would help. The big concern I have is the setbacks. The way they have the house situated is when they do open the road again, which is up, that they're going to fix Walnut Street and reopen this. We're not gonna be able to see out of our driveway very with the setbacks. And you get traffic going both ways again, and it's difficult. So that's concerns that I have. And I get one question from Karen Dale. Your intent is to live in the house? Yes, I'll be our retirement place. I didn't know if it was gonna be another rental like the original house. I would never do a house. And that's what this.
Thank you for your input. Is there any other public input anybody would like to provide?
My name's James Morowski and I live on 29th Walnut Street. That's door to Kelly. My concern, and she brought part of that up, is the safety that would involve. When I bought my house in Sunbury, when we moved from the city, and I came out to the country, okay, and the lots were nice and big. We're on the shared drive, that was my concern, because we were on the shared drive. But pulling under the drive, we can see coming out of that drive because it's wide open out there. Now they put another structure there. It's no longer wide open. I can't see who's coming or driving down that street. We have preservation parks behind our house. Okay, there's a lot of walking traffic, a lot of bicycle traffic that not only uses the trail, they use Walnut Street. Okay, that street is not fit for two cars to go by each other, just barely two cars. Right? So you have to pull over. Okay, and now they're talking plans of opening it up. So now that's more of a safety issue because you got people walking, you got people on bicycles, you got us pulling on your driveway. Now, you can say, oh, you're pulling on your driveway, you can launch it. But out of that driveway, you got 6 cars, at least 6 cars coming out of that driveway. Because there's 3 houses on that property, each house has at least 2 cars. Okay, well, you're gonna say, well, that happens very times. Yes, but the chances of somebody getting hit or something with your view being obstructed is raised. And that's my issue with the whole thing, is the safety, people on the street and my safety. Plus, like I said, when we moved there, it was open, and that's what I appreciated. I could see, I can see the properties, you see outside, and I have no concern driving down the 5-way. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to provide some public comment?
Mary Borowski, 29 Walnut. Question, we don't get city services exact. We have to take everything garbage down to Walnut, which that's okay. If this goes up, what are the chances we're gonna be a dedicated street then? Now we get garbage in front of the house, mail in front of the house. Just, and I wouldn't care if they were building a house, if they tore their house down into 2 outbuildings, if they have a lot of room right there, they could put a building in their son's house without encroaching on it that front property. And my other concern is, he gets the experience for that, the houses across from me have big backyards, let's just stop that, definitely asking the same thing. And then, while I'm after, oops. I did a variance between my house and Kelly's, and then I can put a house behind mine. So, thank you.
Thank you for your input. Any other public comment? Okay, then we will close the public portion of this variance requests and move in to BZA discussion.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Are you voting to close the public hearing? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, it's been a while.
We should get a motion in a second.
What do you want to?
I'll make the motion.
Second that.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
4 yeas, motion approved.
Okay, so does anybody have anything they want to discuss amongst the board?
There seems to be a lot of concern there,
Yeah.
right? I'm not. We have to be careful to not talk about the lot split. That's not our responsibility, right? It's about proving the variance to the existing code.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the only variance that stands in the way of every other, or the majority of the other houses is the setback in the rear. I think we should focus on that as the biggest concern. I don't think there is looking at the drawing, I don't think there's a safety concern from a site perspective. That's my opinion. But I would suggest we focus on the rear setback as the largest variance.
I can understand those thoughts. My concern is that although some lots are consistent to what's being asked for, those lots are in a down the road. They're not next door. And the consistency here, I think after that lot split, if I look on just Google Maps to get a bigger vision here, those will probably be the 2 smallest lots within at least a block radius. Pretty significantly smaller, it seems, that in comparison to others just looking down the road here. So I do have a little bit of concerns around the number of variances here. So I know it's just one variance request, but a smaller lot size, 2 different setback, or at least a setback, a smaller house of square footage, and actually 2 different setbacks. So it's the number of variances being asked here, the consistency of the lots around it. It feels inconsistent, even though I agree down the road, it might be more consistent. That's where I'm at right now on my thoughts.
Okay. Any other discussion points? Okay.
So if you're gonna make a motion tonight,
Mhm.
that's the plan. I would advise making a motion to approve, because your action is affirmative action. And if it either passes with the 4 votes, or if it doesn't get 4 votes, that's how it would be, would be disapproved or fail. And I would make that motion contingent upon 2 things. Number 1, that the applicant does obtain approval on the minor lot split from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So these variances would only take effect to the extent that is approval is given. And number 2, that the applicant submits application on that minor lot split within some specified period of time. So this isn't hanging out forever. So that I don't know what his intention would be if this were to be approved when he's anticipating being ready for planning and zoning, but I would make the contingent on both of those.
How can we assure that the drainage issues get concerned that that's addressed?
So to the extent you're seeking more information, you have 15 days to act on this. You don't have to take action tonight. You could, if the applicant's in approval, with tabling this so that you can get more information and then coming back at a follow-up hearing, and that may give staff the opportunity to obtain that information for you.
Yeah, in fact, that's what I was going to suggest. I mean, as Mr. Long indicated, I mean, it might be helpful for us to get the exact sizes of the lots that are in and around this area. Also to confirm what the rear yard setback is going to be upon the split itself. I think that would probably be helpful to the group as well. And I think, can then validate what the rear yard setbacks are looking like, not only in that subdivision that was referenced, although most of them were 25, or at least that's the view of the zoning officer. Again, let us get the exact numbers. I think maybe that would be helpful to the group. So, I mean, with that, I mean, we would need the applicant to agree to at least table the motion for, yeah.
You know, I would like to comment that this house is facing Walnut Street, not Cherry Street.
Correct. Yep.
The back lot would be as a moral side, or it wouldn't be used at all.
And is there any, sorry, go ahead.
I can see drainage plans, is that what that?
Yeah, I think we'll work with the city engineer to make sure that we understand what the commitment's going to be.
Are there any plans to improve the road?
So yeah, that's a good point. It was referenced a couple of times. There is a grant currently underway to repair there's a portion of the bank that's washing away. The city is about to secure a contractor to fix that. Once that is fixed, we do anticipate Walnut Street opens back up again. And that's not going to happen until next year, but it will be open again.
Okay.
Would that potentially mean widening that street as well?
There are no plans to widen it at the moment.
Yeah, I was also going to probably bring up the suggestion of a table. But again, that would.
Yeah, so it sounds like the applicant is in favor of that. So to the extent you do that, I would get a motion in a second to table to the date of the next hearing. We will not, or the next meeting, we will not have another public hearing. So there won't be notice that goes back out. So you people that may want to come back and further with the discussion would need to be advised of when that date was, but you wouldn't necessarily be receiving another notice. So you know what the date of the next.
Yeah, what is the date?
Yes, go ahead.
We still haven't addressed property line between the Walker property and the house. How far they have to go on that?
At our next meeting, we'll discuss, if we vote to go for our next meeting, we'll discuss further what will happen.
It's not just gonna get pushed down the road.
We're not pushing it under the rug. We're requesting more information, and we'll evaluate all of the information at our next discussion. Yes.
Yeah, so
If we vote that way, we haven't voted yet. If we vote that way.
I see.
right.
Okay.
So the next regularly scheduled meeting would be November 18th, 5:30 in this room. So third Monday in November.
Can I motion to table?
Is there a second?
And again, just for clarity for record, so the motion is to table this discussion and any action until the next meeting, which is November 18th at 5:30 PM. Is that right? Is that what your motion is?
Yes, sorry. Yes, it is to table the discussion to the 18th of November.
Okay, is there a second to the motion? Okay, and then we'll make a motion to vote on the variance request as proposed. Is there a second?
So if I could, I know there wasn't a second. again, the applicant has expressed a willingness to table it, so it, just would hope you would at least
I'll second
consider,
the motion to
consider
table.
that. Okay, thank you.
If we're not voting to take any action, the motion is just to move it out.
Hmm.
In order for staff to obtain additional information and better apprise you. Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
4 yeas, motion approved.
So just to make it clear again, we will motion this, or we will revisit this at our November 18th meeting at 5:30 PM with the additional information in regards to the setbacks and lot size and everything else that was requested. Okay. So for this variance request, we are done for tonight. The next item that we have to go over today is the approval of minutes from our last meeting in July.
Yeah, you're all allowed to come back to the
Yeah,
next meeting if it's not clear. 5:30. Yeah. Yes.
Yep. Notice.
You won't get notices. This is your notice.
Just make a notice of.
This, right.
If you need to call, you can call us too. We'll let you know.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
4 yeas, motion approved.
And we have a motion to close the BZA meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
4 yeas, we are adjourned.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.